And we have Finbarr on the phone from the household charge group in Dundalk. And Finbarr, would you like to come on air? I can get you on. I can ring you back on Skype if you wish. Okay. I'm just going to play another quick song because Finbarr just called me there on the mobile phone, and I can't route the mobile phone through the desk. So I'm just going to play another quick song, and we'll get Finbarr. I'll bring Finbarr back then. Okay, 1 second now. Okay, music is over. We have Finbarr all the way from Dundalk on the phone, and Finbarr is very much involved with the household charge campaign, and you're pretty much involved with the nationwide campaign, Finbarr. Would that be true to say that?
No, I wouldn't say that. I've up to this stage maybe avoided becoming involved in the steering party committee at a national level and things like that, just to see how it would evolve. I'm quite an independent thinker and talker.
That's true.
So I think I wanted to just observe from the sidelines and see what developed. But I do think it's about time that maybe myself and some others started to contribute a little bit more with it.
Okay, can I get a bit of a background from yourself about who you are as a person and why you decided to get involved with this? You have a history in activism yourself, don't you?
I do. I don't necessarily fly any particular flag, but I have been quite active for about 5 or 6 years now. And at one time I was a very active member locally here in County Louth of People Before Profit. But I got involved in the Occupy movement. I noticed from the Occupy movement and different things, how being a part of a movement, well, not a movement, but a party or an organisation, automatically there's an inference that you have to be vote competitive, that you have to think in a more covert fashion at times, and be more covert in how you behave or what you talk about, things like that. And I felt on a very personal level that I didn't really want to go down that line, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not in any way condemning anyone who does decide to do that, but I just felt, you know, and from that I've developed, I suppose, a philosophy, you know, that or an understanding that party politics in itself is a very damaging thing, and
sure,
that maybe we'd be better off to abandon, especially particularly in the times that we're in, and the breadth and the strength of the campaign that is needed to not only defeat the household charge, but to actually redirect our economic and sovereign policies, you know,
yeah,
to be able to achieve that. We need to really start sticking together and to make sure that we don't isolate each other through our more specific ideologies at times. That if we're going to create a movement, that movement has to be as accessible as possible to the many different sectors in society, whether to the small farmers who own a bit of land,
yeah,
who maybe wouldn't particularly appreciate the socialist views, for instance, Socialist Party or whatever views, to small business owners who be in a similar position, to civil servants who may not want to be associated with any movement that is led by political parties. So I came to that understanding, and I'm involved in the CORD movement now, and CORD is evolving. It has a wonderful basis that you know, smaller political parties really help to establish. But it is evolving now, and I think it has come to a time when it needs to become a real people's movement, and I don't doubt that is what's going to happen over the next while. There are plenty of evidence of it, you know, so it's about really trying to embrace every sector in society, and that might mean doing a few things, like having more non-party members as spokespersons in the media, things like that, you know.
Yeah, it's
but that's my background, and maybe why one reason why I'm on chatting to you tonight, James.
Great, thanks for that. It's you know, it's I think we're on new ground here in many ways in Ireland. People are used to following some sort of party line. It's the civil war politics, Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, and it's mainly passed down through the families, you know. So it's something that you inherit rather than learn, you know, who to vote for. So really people are completely confused because the last two governments, including the current government, have given people absolutely no hope whatsoever. We just had a referendum there recently where half the people, the electorate, didn't even turn up to vote. Like, do you know what I mean? So that's kind of where we're at.
Well, can I just interject for a wee minute there, James, because, it's easy enough just to cite the traditional Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael division. But when you look at history, contemporary Irish history a bit closer, what we find is that there was another schism or division, and it was between socialist and non-socialist. And it went both ways, so it was between socialist and with capitalist or no-opinionist, And then on the other hand, it quite often is between socialist and anarchist. So there was those schisms there too that I think can be reflected in today's opposition forces that are opposed to the recent economic policies.
Yeah.
So we have to, I think that very much is still there. And I think for any campaign, any national movement to work to really overcome what's happening to us, we need to start addressing those things. And it can be a beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be confrontational. We all have things that are shared and things that are different. But we're all in a sinking boat here. And I think it's about time that we all started to actually take very specific and observable actions to ensure that any movement, including the court campaign, but other movements as well, that when they start merging together, that they don't become dominated by any, or to be perceived to be dominated by any particular group, that it's accessible to society. And I suppose that's the message that I'm trying to reiterate again and again here, because the divisions of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael really are irrelevant because they don't exist. The policies are generally the same. The real divisions that I think need to be healed are amongst all of those people who are opposing, maybe in their own ways, are opposing economic policy, and all those forces need to be brought together very, very soon. This is every so often a generation has an opportunity and a responsibility, and it is a real responsibility to take action and to really reflect in themselves and their history, what they've been involved in, and ask themselves, is this a loyalty that is worth? If you feel that you want to, drive your particular organisation or movement forward through a campaign or something like that, is it worth it? When we look at the bigger picture in history and what we collectively, in methods of respect, could actually achieve if we are more sensitive to each other. And I'm talking about the farmers as well here. I'm talking about the businessmen. I'm talking about everybody. Because we're looking for real, deep cultural change to redirect ourselves. Because we have evolutionary problems we have to deal with too. So I think we really all need to start becoming reflective and more sensitive to each other.
Yeah, well, I agree with all of that, I have to say. I mean, I was up there with you last week in Dundalk. I took a spin up to the other end of the Republic of Ireland. I was never in Dundalk before, except for a fleeting pass through on business. But it was great to meet up with you, Finbarr, and to sit down and have a chat with you and kind of get a taste for what's going on in your head, and get to meet the other people as well in your community, to see that you're actively taking on the same issues that we are down the south. There's no difference, Yep.
I think having this, for instance, in Dundalk, what we did in the court campaign from the very beginning, and I suppose people thought I was a bit mad. They didn't know me at the time proposing this, and I proposed that we don't have a leader. In the sense, nobody or no subgroup has a right to go off and make decisions. That it has always been the group, that we have a rotating chairperson, that no political party, people who are a great contribution, can actually represent the party in the media and also the local campaign. And we're very proud of those values. And these are normal working people and retired people who come 30 and 40 every week to meetings, and then more who go out and do campaigning locally. And it's one of the values that it really held us together. And I know there's been a lot of friction around the countryside, out in the regions, in the local court campaigns, but we've had none here in Dundalk. And it's because that core value, and those specific actions that we took at the very beginning, which managed to hold us all together, even in tough times, And we've spread that out throughout the entire county now. It looks like the county are going to, we know about Dunleer and Annagassan and Clarehead and all that area. They were adopting these methods as well. We've also come up with a strategy, a step-by-step guide, a local guide, to what to do when you get your red letters in from the council. So we're very active here.
Do you want to talk about that strategy now on the radio, or do you want to...
That we make sure we take sensitive actions to ensure that nobody in the group can be offended by domination or anything like that from a particular group, person or anything like that,
Do you want
it actually looks like something. It doesn't. It's not just words. You can actually put this into a simple formula that can make a movement really work.
Do you want to discuss that strategy now, or would you rather not talk about it on the radio?
Well, we're going to launch the strategy on Tuesday locally throughout the county here.
Okay.
From the very beginning, the team the core theme in terms of strategy of court has been one of clogging up the system, and of course mass non-registration. And the strategy doesn't veer from our own local strategy. It doesn't veer from that, but it does put meat on it. So, for instance, in terms of if court summonses, if you receive court summons at any point in the future, we would encourage you, and we have local support teams in every area that you would phone, but we would encourage you to apply for legal aid. Everybody has a right to apply for it, not necessarily get it.
Yes.
And everybody has a right to a local and a national appeal. And there's not many people working in the legal aid office. And if you can imagine tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people doing this at the same time, if it comes to that. On the other hand, what we're also saying is we're not telling people what to do, but we're advising people what to do. So we know that some people may not want to be the first into this process of engaging the local authorities. So maybe you won't want to respond to the council letters that come out first. And we were speaking to yourself, James, and other people, and we had said, we had taught ourselves in loud that we would send a return to sender, right? We would encourage people to write that on it, but you've come up with a wonderful sticker that that I think does the job just as well. But then there's the other category of people who might be more willing, because we're meeting a lot of people out there, especially older people and pensioners, who are saying, bloody, I can't wait to bloody well get to court, bring on the fight. And if we have people like that, well, we're encouraging the first step is to send a letter to the council, asking a plethora of questions about spending, about waste, about all these things, also about where they access your information, and lots of legal things as well, to not only to, again, stifle the systems of the local authorities or the specific department dealing with this, the household charge, but also to use the information in the responses, or the lack of responses, within the courtrooms later on, if it comes to the point of going to the court. And we do emphasise with people all the time that we can't promise or guarantee that you won't go to court, or even be found guilty of contempt of court for not paying a fine issued by the court. But irrespective of that, the reality is nobody spends time overnight for the non-payment of small fines in jail. Or very few do. The Limerick Post had some very interesting statistics recently showing that nobody really does except serial offenders. And our system, we know the prison system couldn't cope with that. So we do have a strategy out there. We have it fitted into an information pack. We were going to call it a survival pack, but that sounds dramatic. But an information pack that we're giving out at public meetings over the next few weeks in County Louth. Let me just clear my throat here.
Okay.
So that's what we're at anyway, and we're trying to be proactive, you know. We encourage anybody else around the country who is involved in court and who at the moment are not involved in their local court campaign to get involved and start coming up with ideas.
Well, come here, look, this sounds wonderful. It sounds like a wonderful strategy, because little birdie told me that, you know, the other powers that be in the National Household Campaign are asking people just to ignore.
You're a bit faded there. Could you speak up a wee bit, James?
A little birdie told me that there is other elements of the National Household Campaign that are asking people to ignore summonses or ignore letters. Would that be right?
I have heard that on the media, you know. I don't want to go into a whole rigmarole about the strategy that's been announced on a national level, because in reality, and I think everybody in the campaign knows this is about local groups empowering themselves and coming up with local strategies and different ways to do things, and seeing what each other are doing and seeing that works and that's not working and so forth, you know. And that's what's happening. For instance, I know there's a lot of interest in the Loud strategy, and a lot of people seem to be want to take it up, and it's different, amending it and changing it to their own local area. But that a strategy is needed, you know. And I'm not condemning anybody who says, "Oh, just put it in the bin," because the reality is, the bottom line is, overall, we are ignoring the household charge, and so that doesn't divert from the overall goal, you know. But at the same time, we know that the public out there want to see a strategy that has a bit of flesh in it. What can they do? You know, what are they expected to do? They're actually, from what I can see, they want to be a part of this, and they want to have some kind of a template. So that's what we're offering them, and we're expecting a big turnout at the local meetings around the county.
Great. So do you think that the household charge is only the start of many other unlawful taxes that are going to be pushed on the people in the near future?
I don't want to preempt anything. I believe in taking things step by step. I think what's been achieved so far in the campaign is just amazing. But it is only the beginning. Thus far, we have just been in almost a naive and jolly fashion marching towards the battleground.
Right.
But I can see the battleground is in sight for us all now, you know, and we need to just really focus on strategy for this campaign. What will be, and I hope if something, and I would personally like to see a wider movement develop that's challenging economic policy generally. And also, not just challenging it, but just suggesting alternatives. I would of course love to see that happen. But bottom line is, for me, it needs to happen organically. It can't be something that's forced by particular elements. And at the moment, I think if we all just focus on the household charge, because we know that is a growing tax. We know that next year that is going to be phenomenal figures, very unaffordable to many people who have already paid. And I think we also need to focus right now on asking those people who have registered and who are paying by direct debit, advising them that they can cancel now. You know, they can come and join this campaign. Just because you register for direct debit doesn't exclude you from this. You can become part of what is turning out to be maybe the greatest mass movement since the Land League.
Yes.
And that has to be acknowledged as well. The achievement thus far is just amazing. And I think in terms of widening this movement out to make all the sectors in society feel they can become involved, and if that means dealing with issues such as ensuring that it's not just political party people that are spokespersons for the campaign, that maybe most spokespersons, that we can teach them and we can encourage them and empower them to be non-political party people, normal people, housewives, husbands, workers, as opposed to the political party people. And I think that taking actions like that, just in the media, it doesn't in any way detract from political party representatives being involved in the campaign itself, but just in media positions, so that we can show the public that we are not just representing or focused on one sector of society.
Yeah. But it all sounds good, I have to say. Very balanced view, Finbarr, of how to approach the current problems that we have, because you know it's very easy to get sucked into a one-sided view. You know, so you come across as a guy who's really looking at it from many different angles. To try.
We have to, because we have, you know, I think empathy is a big thing here, because on the one hand we need to be empathetic and sensitive, as I said, to the sectors in society. But we also need to be empathetic to those hundreds of thousands, many hundreds of thousands of people who have not registered because of our campaign and who are depending on us. And the idea, to me, that any grouping would be willing to sacrifice the required unity of the social sectors, to sacrifice that for their own gain. And I'm not saying that is happening, but I want to ensure that it doesn't happen. The idea that they'll be willing to sacrifice that, to me, is vulgar. It's crude. And it's very disrespectful to all those people. My mother is a widow. She was made a widow at Christmas by just events in nature. And you know, she hasn't registered on the basis of my involvement in this campaign and what I say, what I'm saying, you know. And the idea that any type of squabbling for position by any grouping that's supporting this campaign, in my mind, as I say, is vulgar. And it's not going to happen, because there's enough people, sensible people around the country, in political parties as well, because I've been speaking to them, who just won't allow that to happen. They realise the significance of the court campaign. It's the only thing, and it's the only race in town. It
seems to be, and if you'd like to explain to the listeners about the word boycott, where that actually came from, I'm sure you know the answer to that.
Oh yeah. Well, Captain Boycott was I suppose, an instigator of, or an applicator of British landlordism and rule in the west of Ireland. I'm a bit etchy on all the exact details now, but I do know that he was quite ferocious. And the people rose up against him and they boycotted him. They refused to do business with people he did business with. They were actually far more aggressive than what we'd imagine today. You know, businesses were burnt down, people were attacked and intimidated. In in a fashion to boycott and to exclude boycott and his mechanisms from society, and it worked, you know, and it's just something that's used all around the world now. But I think, to be honest with you, if we were to look at Ireland from an ancient perspective, or maybe a Brehon's perspective, this isn't, you know, boycotting has been happening for a long, long time. As I understand it, and I'm glad to be corrected, of course, as I understand it, in ancient Celtic times, or Brehon times, if a Brehon was helping in a dispute between two people, would say somebody stole somebody's cow, and the Brehon advised the thief to give the cow back, and the thief said, no, I won't. There was a few options. One option would be that the thief would temporarily keep the cow, but he'd be feeding the other person's cow, you know, the victim's cow, and it would be made clear to him when the cow was required, it would be taken back. But on the other hand, quite often what would happen would be that the victim would go and sit on the doorstep of the thief. And the thief would be compelled by the social norms and mores of the time to leave the community. That's how serious an action that would be considered. And, you know, so you can see where boycotting, where people coming together on a community level to take actions, really can have a great impact. You know? But also, I think in terms of boycott, it's not a new phenomenon. I know that the most recent, it's not even that recent, or example of where the word came from itself in the 1800s is about Captain Boycott. But in terms of a phenomenon, I think we could trace back it quite a long time.
Thousands of years probably, because the Greeks have been holding signs, and it was on TV. It was mentioned on TV that they were holding signs saying, "We're not the Irish. We will riot against this austerity." But recently, that the governments in Europe, that what they've been talking about is the fact that the Irish, I can hear you. The Irish people, Finbarr, are standing up in a different way. That they are protesting by non-consent, non-compliance of new taxes, which is more powerful, if you ask me, than breaking windows and setting cars on fire.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think we don't know where we are going. We don't know what the response. As I said, it's a hell of a long time since this has been done in Ireland, and you know, on such a level, a mass level, and against such authority. I don't know where we are going. I don't live in Greece to be able to say how far they have been pushed before they started rioting in the streets. Maybe we haven't been pushed that far yet, and I'm not advocating rioting at all.
No, it's pointless.
But you know, we are showing a very what we perceive to be a very peculiar and individual way to object to what's happening. But I do know that there are non-payment campaigns in Greece and in Italy and in Spain as well. And I'm not sure whether the commentaries that suggest that the Irish are very unique in this, I think maybe they're almost at times boastful, almost patriotic commentaries. And then, you know, when we look closely, we find that these campaigns are happening and are successful and are experiencing the same both hindrances and helps that we are over here in Ireland. I don't think we're that different, really. And we're not rioting yet. But let's see how tight the vice gets around the neck of the Irish people and see how they react.
Absolutely. It's challenging times for sure. There's no doubt about it. I've heard stories of plane loads of cash being flown into Germany to help this quantitative easing, because they're basically running out of cash, and the banks are, and especially with this crack with Ulster Bank and NatWest not being able to process payments. I used to work in IT myself, and I know that they have numerous backup systems, and it just doesn't happen what they're saying did happen. So it's looking like that the European economy is on the slide, and we're going to see a lot more hardship before things get better. So have you got any advice for people in that regard?
Advice for people: get involved. This advice is going to be traditionally uninvolved. Get involved. Open your mind to your own possibilities and your own powers and strength. Get involved in a campaign of any sort, and please hold the value of looking at the bigger picture and never become too loyal to one brand or one organisation. Always be an individual within anything that you do. But from tomorrow, make a phone call, send an email, or go and walk where you have to walk to actually get involved in challenging this. Because as much as we think we're doing it in our our way over in Ireland, and that maybe it's not working anywhere. It is, and it's growing. And I think recently we've had this ridiculous statement of an agreement in principle to shift debt over to private entities. And we know that 2 days there was an expectation that on the Monday after that agreement, the euro was going to collapse if some announcement wasn't made. And we know that it's all the smoke and daggers, or smoke and mirrors, I should say. So anybody who's feeling doubt, or at least it's maybe feeling positive, that the banking crisis is about to be solved, you need to think again, get up and get involved, because it's about to get worse.
Yeah. Well, the banking crisis can't be resolved, Finbarr, because it's a debt-based monetary system which is on a downward spiral into a collapse. And I'm not a fear-mongerer, but the reality is that's what we have. So, if you feel that these things are going to miraculously get better, it's not going to happen. So yeah, we do need to come together as a people's movement in any way we can, and get united, get strong, and get connected, and get tuned into alternative ways of looking after each other.
Yeah, I think there's the challenge ahead is so multifaceted that you really need to write probably 1,000-page 2-minute to really get your head around it.
I know.
There's a lot of things to be done. For instance, there's influences of sustainability. There's influences of almost growing your own food, of creating social capital exchange token systems, things like that. But there's also other things as well. There's also a realization that we have as a country a vast amount of wealth in so many ways, both in social capital, but also in terms of solids like gold and like oil and gas and things like that, and how we start talking about how we in the future are going to manage that, and realizing that we have it first of all, because then other questions come up, ethical questions that are going to have to be dealt with, because on the one hand, some people who want change may not even want that gas or oil taken out.
That's true.
Or other people want a redirection that is so radical that many might perceive it to be a return to some format or the form of Stone Age. And I'm not saying it is or it isn't in any way, I'm not giving an opinion, but there's radical views and interpretations of what can be done out there. And that's why I've said from the very beginning that I would ask people to get involved, but to be very sensitive to everybody else's views, and to realise that sensitivity is required if we obviously create real cultural, national and even international cultural change.
Fantastic.
Sorry for reiterating my messages. I have a habit of doing that. People sometimes don't get them the first time.
You're quite articulate, so you say a lot in one breath. So yeah, you're okay to repeat it because you might miss half of it. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Finbarr, before you finish up the interview?
Not at all. At the moment, I'm doing up a proposal, or a couple of proposals, for the National Court Steering Committee in conjunction with representatives from a number of other counties. We're going to try to get them around to anybody and everybody that's involved at the moment in court groups, but also who may not be involved, to get their opinions and to get them talking about this, and hopefully to get it passed at the National Steering Committee on the 28th of this month. It's a set of proposals to try to bring balance and cross society representation within the media aspects and the organisation itself that is COURT. And so they're very important proposals. They're the proposals that will step COURT from being a fundamentally sound movement, but a movement that may be getting stuck in a mire to a certain degree by overemphasis and political party involvement. And hopefully this proposal will step us away from that and towards a truly broad movement that involves all sectors of society. So if you get a copy of it, you share it wherever you can to people who are involved in COURT, and get it out there, because we just don't want to depend on the steering committee email strings. We want to make sure that everybody in the committees around the country and the groups who are involved in any way in the campaign get to read this and hopefully get to influence how this vote happens. Okay. So that's what I'd like to leave you with, James.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks very much for coming on the show. What we'll do is we'll get you back on again at a later date to give us further updates on how it's developing.
Yeah, and again, you probably have some of my contact details there. If people want to speak to me, just give me a call or send me an email.
Yeah, no problem at all. Well, that's great. Well, thanks very much, and sure, I'll be talking to you soon anyway.
Well, talk to you in a while. Slow a while, James.
Bye-bye. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
And that is Finbarr there from the National Household Charge Campaign. Finbarr is based in Dundalk, and he's a highly active man indeed. I met him there last week with many others in his group, and they seem to have a very, very good strategy up there in dealing with the household charge. What they're doing is a mass non-compliance by putting stickers on the windows of envelopes that will come through the door and sending them back, return to sender. And also that you will have other members then of their group will be directly writing back to the department that sends them, Phil Hogan's department that sends out any letters in relation to the household charge. Will be asking pertinent questions in relation to why they have to pay this charge. Is there any obligation for me to pay this charge? And if so, can you provide evidence? That sort of thing. So it's a fair play to Finbarr, and we'll have Finbarr again on the show at a later date to give us a further update on how the national campaign is developing. I've got a feeling myself that he's going to be pretty significant in the movement, and we'll see. Time will tell. So I'm just going to go to another quick song there, and we have more for you. There are a few extracts then from the show. I actually rang the Merseyside Police Department, believe it or not, during the week, and I had a chat with him about Roger Hayes' unlawful arrest and imprisonment by secret court. So we're going to give you an update on that shortly after the song by the Eagles. Peaceful, Easy Feeling from the Eagles, one of my favourite bands, I have to say. I really enjoy listening to their music. It always relaxes me whenever I'm feeling a bit frustrated or whatever. I'm going to play out a phone recording during the week from a phone call I had with the Merseyside Police Department. I was probably only speaking to a girl at the desk. I don't think I was actually speaking to any police officers in Merseyside. But this is the conversation that took place. And yeah, I'm just ringing in relation to Roger Hayes. I heard
and how can...
I heard that he was arrested unlawfully, and just wanted to know if he was okay.
I've got to advise you, it's a very bad line. I can't hear you very well.
Okay. If I speak a little bit slow...
Can you move around a little bit just so you've got a better reception?
Yeah. Is that a bit better now?
That's a little bit better now, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just calling about Roger Hayes. That I've heard that he's been unlawfully arrested, and I'm just concerned about his well-being. I just want to know if he was okay.
Right, okay. At the moment, sir, I'm unable to pass any information due to data protection.
Data protection?
I'm unable to pass any information whatsoever under data protection, so unfortunately I can't give you any information.
But I'm a relative of his. I live in Ireland, and surely with a relative...
So you're breaking up terrible.
Surely with a relative that you can release information to a relative. I'm a cousin of his. I live in Ireland, and I'm just very concerned about his well-being.
Sir, I'm unable to hear you. I really do apologise. I'm only catching every other word that you say. So there you go. Conversation had there with the Merseyside Police Department earlier in the week, and they were not willing to give any information at all, and they used the Data Protection Act as a reason for not giving any information out as to his whereabouts, or as to his well-being, or the reasons why he was arrested, and any evidence to have against him for an arrest. As far as I'm aware, it's got to do with the non-payment of the council tax, and as he said, he didn't refuse to pay it, but that's what he was. It was basically no consent, based on the fact that there was acts of terrorism involved with the use of the money, as in bombing the shit out of children in foreign countries, was using the depleted uranium warheads. Might have something to do with it, I'm sure. But yeah, I can understand where the man is coming from. I'm going to read out an article, and this article is actually quite a few days old at this stage, so I'm going to read it out anyway because I didn't read it out last week. So this is from the website ukcolumn.org.
And the actual article is Update Arrest Roger Hayes. So check that out. It's on the front page of that website. So this is the article. We've just learned that Wirral Council, having issued proceedings against Roger Hayes for non-payment of council tax, recently decided to enact their right for a committal hearing against Roger for his continued non-payment. On Tuesday 26th of June 2012, a committal hearing took place at which Wirral Council state that Roger failed to appear. As a result, the judge issued a bench warrant for his arrest, and Roger was arrested yesterday morning. The council's spokesman either did not know or refused to name the judge. Following his arrest, Roger was brought before a magistrate and sentenced to 21 days. The council spokesman either did not know or refused to name the magistrate and was unable to say how much, if any, notice of either hearing was given to the general public. At this point, we would like to make a correction to our initial press release, and that is, Roger Hayes withheld his council tax rather than refused to pay, as we reported. This has important implications in his legal case. The most important fact in Roger's arrest, trial and imprisonment is that nobody knows the detail of what happened to him. What were the names and numbers of the police officers? What was the court? What was the number of the case? Who was the magistrate or judge? Were any public present to see justice being done? Roger was arrested at home, and 9 hours later he was in prison on the decision of one magistrate. This must be yet another very dangerous example of the rise of the secret courts and secret justice. Kenneth Clark MP is still pushing for yet more courts without juries. Calls to the police and Liverpool prison where he's being held have all been met with a wall of signs under the "we can't say" and, as you heard with my particular recorded phone call, data protection. We can see from this how yet more secrecy is introduced to keep the public interest at bay. It is understood that the police have received many calls. One member of the public had the phone slammed down on him when he mentioned Roger's name. Roger's family have also been refused direct information and access to him. They have now started the paperwork trail for formal permission to visit. A former police officer has kindly made a number of pertinent points which we were happy to publish. He was informed us that the prison would not confirm that Roger was with them for security reasons. They referred him to the prisoner location service on such a number. They would not accept verbal requests. Merseyside Police Switchboard are also referring calls about Roger to the council. This appears a highly dubious practice of at law. He states, "Because I wanted to make complaints, I was put through to the police control room. The drill is for complaints to be recorded and then passed to an inspector who will contact the complainant within 24 hours. My initial complaints are: 1. Was anyone informed of Roger's arrest? The contingency plan was for him to get a message to me. Note that the prisoner does not get to make a phone call himself. This is a precaution against prisoners passing coded messages to their associates outside. 2. Merseyside Police, according to various sources on the internet, are claiming that data protection forbids them to confirm Roger's whereabouts. This appears highly dubious practice because a regulation cannot be held to repeal or infringe a common law right. 3. Passing complaints about police actions to the council is a breach of the police discipline regulations and of confidentiality for the individuals who are being complained about. I believe the Police Federation will not like this abusive process. The UK column is delighted to report that the story Roger Hayes has gone UK and worldwide, as I'm reading this out in Ireland. Many are asking us what can they do. Our first answer is to spread the word, highlighting the seriousness of the secrecy and lack of transparency in the whole process. As an example, another member of the public has asked these excellent questions. Was there a signed warrant, in brackets a wet signature, and who authorised it, if so? Was there any forced entry to the house and or damage? Did the warrant remain at the house? Did they search the house? Did they take anything away, i.e. computer, files, phones, router, etc.? Did they leave an inventory at the house? Were there any witnesses to the arrest? Was any force used on Roger or anyone else in the house? Was he handcuffed? Was there any explanation to anyone else in the house? Is there any idea of the charge? Were the arresting officers sworn police officers?
PCSOs from another agency with powers of arrest or privates or a mixture? Did anyone get their names or collar numbers? Did anyone get the name of the prison officer who called? If anyone could collate that, I'm sure his lawyers or others will want it, plus it would provide good info for a follow-up article. Please ring the authorities yourself to hear their answers firsthand. Every call is a point of support for Roger and shows the authorities the overwhelming public interest in the case. Please also write and ask for information and answers from Wirral Council and other authorities. As always, be polite and measured in your calls and requests for information. Unfortunately, the authorities may not treat you with the same respect. As soon as we have more information, we will post it. For those that want to write to Roger, we will post his prison number as soon as we have it. So anyway, guys, look, the Merseyside police number is, it's 0044, which is the UK international code. 0 in brackets 151 709 6010. That's the UK number. So it's +44 in bracket 0 151 709 6010. So you can give them a call if you wish. The Liverpool prison number is +44 in bracket 0 151 530 4000. And if you want to ring Crime Stoppers, because obviously a crime has been committed, and it wasn't Roger Hayes, the UK number there is 0800 555 111. So get calling, because I did it, and if enough people call, it will annoy them. You can be sure of that. So by all means, do give them a call, and let's see what happens next. So let's see what else we got for you. Okay. Actually, what I did do earlier is ask a gentleman from Waterford, from Fact, to have a proper interview, because we had a debate last week. His name is David, and he's part of the Fact group, which is father's group against for protection for the rights of children. And if David wishes to call into the show, he can. I'm going to play a quick song there, and we can see if we can get David on for a proper interview this week, which we can then put out as a podcast during the week. So just going to go to another quick song. This one is Fionn Regan, Put a Penny in the Slot. Fionn Regan there, Put a Penny in the Slot. Lovely singer-songwriter that was given a helping hand by Damien Rice at the start of his career. Was brought on a tour of Ireland and other countries as well. I'm not sure how he's doing right now, or whether he's still touring or playing, but I'm sure that he is. I just haven't been tuned into exactly what he's doing, but very much enjoy his music and his lyrics. Very unusual songwriter indeed. Now, if anybody would like to ring in and give us an update of what's after happening with Roger Hayes, because what I read out now is actually quite a few days old, and I'd like to talk to anyone and get them to come on the show and just give us a quick update of what's actually happening there. You can ring me on Skype on Cloud Warrior 1975. That's Cloud Warrior 1975. The Claire O'Sullivan situation. Claire is still in hiding, and I'm actually going to read out an article here from a website called healthimpactnews.com. Very good website for all sorts of truth information in relation to your health and your children's health. And this article is called Italian Court Rules MMR Vaccine Caused Autism. Why is this story blacked out of the US media? Give me one moment and I will start reading out this. Testing 1, 2. Yeah, just making sure we still have a broadcast there. That's okay. Okay, 1 second now. Many parents don't think twice about taking their children in for routine vaccinations, as they are an integral and heavily promoted part of the conventional medical system. But this decision has had life-altering and sometimes life-ending ramifications for more children than you might expect. Many hardcore health activists are distressed that I do not promote the avoidance of all vaccines outright. Instead, I strongly urge you to invest the time to educate yourself about the potential benefits and risks of each vaccine prior to vaccination, and to make educated decisions based on what you conclude is likely to be the best course of action for your child. While some vaccines appear to be safer than others, it's important to realize that each vaccination carries a certain amount of risk,
and vaccine risks can be greater for some than others due to biological and environmental factors and the timing and types of vaccines given. The risks of vaccination may be exponentially increased when revaccination takes place after an individual has already had a previous vaccine reaction or when multiple vaccines are administered at the same time. There are vaccines that historically have been associated with more side effects than others, and the combination measles, mumps and rubella vaccine MMR shot is one of those. The health risks associated with the MMR vaccine has been in the news for about 15 years. And we're undoubtedly going to see a re-emergence of questions about this vaccine in the coming days and weeks because the Italian Health Ministry recently conceded that the MMR vaccine caused autism in a now 9-year-old boy who suffered brain inflammation and permanent brain damage after he was vaccinated. I just had a friend request there, and I was going to add that because I think we have somebody that wants to come on and discuss what I was talking about. There's two. Okay, if you'd like to ring in there now. Listener, give us a call. I'm going to keep reading this out and you can give us a call in when you're ready. Italian court rules MMR vaccine caused autism. Valentino Bacca was given an MMR shot in 2004 at the age of 15 months. According to his parents, the change in his behaviour was immediate. Well, we have a caller in, so I'm going to come back to this article in 1 second. Caller, reveal yourself.
How you doing, buddy? I am Arthur. I called regarding the contact number for Hayes. Give the opportunity, maybe you can rebroadcast that. I'm ready to copy now.
You didn't get the actual number, is it? You didn't pick up the phone number that I read out, is it? Hello?
Yeah, Buku Reverb here. I'll stand by.
Yeah, okay. You want that phone number again, is it? Hello? Are you still there, caller?
Roger that. I've got a lot of reverb apparently from speakers that you're in.
Okay. The phone number is 0044 151 709 6010.
I copy 044151709 6010.
That's correct.
Hey, outstanding, buddy. I'm gonna post that in the chat room.
Do that, sir. Are you calling all the way from the United States?
Roger that. I just wanted to share that contacting prison jail officials is always effective, even if they hang up on you. They agree with 75 to 80% of what you say, but they go along for a paycheck. Contacting eliminates small tortures. Keep up the good work.
Yeah. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. That's the only way to do it, you know. Just mass non-compliance and mass annoyance. Would you agree with that? Hello, caller? Are you still there?
Yes, we've got multiple tracks going at the same time, kind of like talking in a tank with 3 radios in it, huh?
Right, okay. You should be clear from my side. I don't think I have any reverb playing out. I have somebody listening in a different room. It seems to be okay. I can hear that all right. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
Could be at my end. I don't know why. In any event, we've accomplished the mission. I have the phone number. Godspeed, buddy. I'll disconnect so I don't lose my marbles on this end.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. And we just had a caller in from the United States of America. You just don't know on TNS Radio who's actually listening into your show. So that's it's fantastic. You know, I'm sitting here in a room in Ireland in the middle of the night, and we've got someone ringing in from across the Great Pond there. Is anybody else would like to call in and give us an update? Please give us a call. Again, it's Cloud Warrior 1975, and you can give me a call in there. And if you have any updates on what's happening with Roger Hayes, or also if you have any updates in relation to Claire O'Sullivan, we'd very much appreciate a call to give us an update and let us know what's happening with that particular terrible situation that a young Waterford mother finds herself in with herself and her child, that she feels she has to remain in hiding from the authorities because she believes that a possibly very damaging vaccine might be forced upon her child if she was to come out of hiding. Also, she is in fear of being arrested if she does show herself or come back home to her home county. So Claire, wherever you are, again, we wish you all the best and keep the chin up, and we hope to be talking to you soon, and we hope to have a resolution to this particular nightmare as well very soon. So I'm going back to this article that I was reading about the vaccinations and the causes of autism. So I'll just go back to the start of that paragraph again. Valentino Brocca was given an MMR shot in 2004 at the age of 15 months. According to his parents, the change in his behaviour was immediate. That same night he refused to eat and he developed diarrhoea during the night. It quickly went downhill from there. Within days he was no longer able to put a spoon to his mouth, and he spent nights crying in pain. His parents immediately suspected the vaccination but were told this was impossible. Valentino progressively regressed and received the diagnosis of autism a year later. In the final analysis, the Italian health ministry disagreed with the initial conclusion of the paediatrician, conceding that the vaccine was at fault. As a result, a court in Rimini, Italy, awarded the Brocca family a 15-year annuity totaling €174,000, just under $220,000, plus reimbursement for court costs, ruling that Valentino has been damaged by irreversible complications due to vaccination. According to a featured article in the UK newspaper The Independent, about 100 similar cases are now being examined by Italian lawyers, and more cases may be brought to court. A quote from that article. Luca Ventilaro, the family lawyer, said yesterday, "This is very significant for Britain, which uses and has used an MMR vaccine with the same components as the one given to Valentino. It is wrong for governments and their health authorities to exert strong pressure on parents to take children for the MMR jab, while ignoring that this vaccine can cause autism and linked conditions. The number of autism cases has risen sharply since the 1970s, with 1 in 64 British children affected," The Independent reports. So why is US media in blackout on this story? It's well worth mentioning that this story has yet to be addressed in the US media. The Daily Mail was the first paper in the UK to talk about it on June 15th. The Independent was the second to print an article on June 17th. The Daily Mail was the most substantive of the two. Their version included the following statements. Judge Lucio Ardigo, awarding compensation to the family, said it was conclusively established that Valentino had suffered from an autistic disorder associated with medium cognitive delay, and his illness, as Dr. Barboni stated, was linked to receiving the jab. Lawyer Mr. Vantaloro explained yesterday, "This is very significant for Britain, which uses and has used MMR vaccine with the same components as the one given to Valentino. It is wrong for governments and their health authorities to exert strong pressure on parents to take children for the MMR jab, while ignoring that this vaccine can cause autism and linked conditions." Claudio Simeon, a leading member of the Lobby Group Association for Freedom of Choice in Vaccination, adds, "The Rimini judgment is vitally important for children everywhere. The numbers with autism are growing. It is a terrible thing that the authorities turn a blind eye to the connection between the MMR vaccination and this illness." Now, in my mind, if one child is discovered to have autism from any vaccine. It doesn't matter what it's for. If there's any links whatsoever to autism or any other diseases or illnesses that develop as a result and is discovered, scientifically proven, well then there should be absolutely no more vaccines without consent, and there should be no vaccines given in any way, shape or form in relation to those illnesses or any links whatsoever. I mean, it just makes, it's just common sense, really. Come on, like, it's when are we going to stop allowing the powers that be to bury this crucial medical research and also lawful findings as well? When are we going to stand up and say, no, now it's enough, and we're not going to allow the authorities anymore to push us around and make decisions on our behalf for our family, especially when it's in breach of our own constitution. So there's much more in that article. I'm not going to read out the whole article. I'll be here for the rest of the night reading it out, but it's on the healthimpactnews.com website, and the title is Italian Court Rules MMR Vaccine Caused Autism. Why is this story blacked out of the US media? So you can check that out there, and it affects all. If you have children, and I have an 8-year-old boy who's had vaccines, and luckily for me, he's actually not showing any signs of any serious illness, but he's had learning difficulties, and he's had them since he's been quite small, since he started school. So I'll never know if that came about, lack of concentration came about due to jabs or not. How am I supposed to know at this stage? You know, I would have preferred if he never got them, but you know, his mother wants him to get them, and he lives with her. And so I really would have found it very difficult to stop it, which is actually the reverse of Claire's situation, really, that's just the way things are, you know. So I'm going to go to another song, and after that then we're going to play out a Thomas Sheridan interview, and the reasons why I selected Thomas Sheridan's pre-recorded interview, which is a fantastic interview. It covers all his books and his study and research and intrigue and interest in the psychopathic minds of people that he's come into contact with, especially in Wall Street where he worked. The reasons why I'm playing this out is because if you look at the Roger Hayes situation, why is this man being arrested and tried in secret courts? Why is this happening? We have another contact request there from Mr. Alan Kelly. Maybe Alan wants to ring in for a quick chat before I play out the pre-recorded interview. Alan, if you want to ring in there, I'm going to play a quick song and you can give us a call when you get a chance. So just bear with me 1 second and I play out this song. This one is another Eagles song, Take It Easy. Okay, we're ringing Alan there. Alan, are you there?
Well, if you be on your side?
Yes, can you knock off your background, knock off the radio in the background? Pause there on the broadcast.
Okay, we're ringing Alan there. Alan, are you there? Yeah, have you got me on your side? If you be on your side? Can you knock off your background? There you, do you know what? I should have remembered. How silly of me.
You're okay.
Have you got me now?
Yeah. Have you?
Yeah.
Loud and clear. You're perfect. You sound absolutely perfect.
Okay, just let me turn off a couple of things on my browser that could be slowing the connection up. Is that any better?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
I'm just getting
wonderful. Anyway, good morning. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
You're the player.
You're okay. You're okay.
You got double stereo in the background for a moment. Then
you're okay. That's better. Have you got an update for us on the Roger Hayes situation?
Yeah, I'll just give you what I know. Obviously, there was the court case on Thursday in Manchester, and basically, I guess most people have either seen that on Facebook or on YouTube, but essentially it was railroaded and it was, pretty much thrown out of court. And so there was no joy on the Thursday. Now I was in Liverpool on the Wednesday, serving the papers both into. First of all, we went to the Crown Court.
Okay.
And so there was me and Danny Bamping. Danny Bamping lives around the corner from me, so we both travelled over. And so then we went to the county court. We were able to serve the papers in there. We went to the prison in the morning. Unfortunately, Danny managed to get in to see Roger, so that was a stroke of good luck.
Great. How is
so
he?
anyways, after you.
How is he?
Yeah, in good spirits. You know, obviously, Roger's a very strong-willed gentleman.
Yeah.
So, you know, in good spirits, but obviously he's standing his ground on principle and against this unlawful action that's taken place against him. Now, as far as we can work out, the papers for the committal hearing on the 26th, I think it was, either didn't turn up at his house, they weren't served on him, so he wasn't aware of that particular case that was happening on that day in his absence. So then the warrant has been issued essentially from there. So the action that was taken after the warrant had been issued was the police have turned up at his property. Now there's sort of a couple of stories going around that they stand up at 7:30 in the morning, but I've got a suspicion that it wasn't. It's probably more like 9:30, because his wife and his family, if it was 7:30, I'm sure they would have known that he'd been arrested, but they didn't know on the particular day until 6:30 in the evening.
Okay, so they had gone to school or whatever, they removed themselves from the house.
Sorry, could you just say that again, please?
They might have removed themselves from the house already. They might have gone about their business for the day and he was still in the house, sort of thing.
Exactly. So I presume there was only himself out on that morning. Now, Roger was due over in Burnley at Lockie's funeral that particular morning, and he was due to meet Danny in Bolton at one of the train stations, so he hadn't turned up. I guess the people were, obviously they were expecting him to turn up, and there wasn't any word until that following evening after 6:30 when his family have got home and that he'd not been there. Well, actually, they've got home and then they've got a telephone call from the police or the prison, one of the two, to actually inform them that Roger had been incarcerated at Liverpool at Walton on that same day. So it certainly seemed to have been a railroading exercise where he's been picked up, he's been processed within a matter of hours. He's gone through the courts, and then what essentially looks like a secret court hearing. It wasn't on the listings for the day in court, certainly, because on the Wednesday when we were in Liverpool, the other courts couldn't find a record of that hearing having taken place, so it couldn't have been open to the public. I don't think Roger's been allowed any legal defence. That's it, if he wanted a defence. And but fortunately, on the Wednesday morning when we got to Liverpool prison, Roger had already, to Walton, Roger had already written out his habeas corpus, but his affidavit, let's say, to serve as a habeas corpus into the courts. Now, I'm no legal or lawful expert. I'm not too well up on the processes. Obviously, gathering more information and knowledge as these things progress.
Like us all, yeah.
It's certainly good to learn and understand these processes, because these are becoming more commonplace now with members of our communities and so on.
Yeah.
So the word, as far as I know it, and this is information that I've got back from Chris Jarvis, is one of the gentlemen that's dealing with the processes, and both him and John Hurst, who's another member of the British Constitution Group, are completing void order applications, a writ of certiorari, I think, an appeal to be in for Monday at both the High Court of Justice in London and in Liverpool. The High Court applications will go by fax, and the Liverpool applications will be made by hand with a view to getting an immediate hearing. John Hurst has written authorisation to act on Roger's behalf. Therefore, he will be taking the role of litigator in these matters under the title Mackenzie Friend.
Okay.
So the processes are being resubmitted and submitted into because I presume there's only one sort of High Court with the Queen's Bench which is in London. So this is where the processes need to be submitted into. So that's as far as I know. I'm not in immediate contact with his family.
Yeah.
But I guess that Brian Gerrish is. I met and saw his wife on Wednesday. Obviously she was shaken up by the whole affair.
Sure.
Understandably. And apparently on that particular morning, on the Wednesday morning, after the police had actually gone, maybe about half an hour, it must have been in the evening, because his wife was in, and his daughter was in as well, and a couple of gentlemen had turned up in fluorescent sort of jackets and were checking around the house and banging on the windows and stuff. So, it's not just quite as simple as in being arrested and processed through court. I think, they're certainly trying to undermine his work up until this date in the respect of his withholding of council tax. Taking a moral stance on this. So that's as much information that I've managed to glean. Let's say I've sent off copies of the paperwork that Danny had left with me here to the relevant parties to work on, and so we'll have to see how it transpires tomorrow.
Okay. So he's pretty much a political prisoner. Would that be fair to say?
It seems that way. They're saying that. Well, the judge on the Thursday had stated in court that council tax wasn't contractual. And effectively it couldn't be, it wasn't a contractual agreement, and I just really don't understand that at all, because, most agreements are, all agreements are contractual, aren't they? And I can't see how council tax or any tax is not contractual if we consent to be governed. If we're consenting to be governed, then it must be contractual.
What these guys are saying,
it doesn't.
What these guys are saying, Alan, is that what these guys are actually saying by their silence is that, well, do you not know that you're slaves?
Sorry, could you just repeat that again? I caught half of what you said.
Yeah. Well, by the powers that be within the legal system, by their silence when you ask these pertinent questions in relation to are taxes consensual, if there are agreements, are they not saying by their silence, are you not aware that you are slaves?
Well, exactly. So I think that it seems to be that especially the legal arm of our government are sort of rubbing it in our faces, and we're certainly not getting justice through either the legal system or through the courts. And I remember watching an interview with Brian Hall that was on one of the On the Edge programs, and obviously he'd gone through years of back and forth in court, and an Australian lady was, I forgot her name, she was being interviewed as well with Brian Hall, and there was one instance where they were arrested and they had placards, and I think on the placard they had 3 words. It was sort of truth, justice and peace, or truth, justice and love, but certainly the word justice was in there, and the actual case was about whether they could use, was based on whether they could use these placards or not. And it came down to the word justice, and they had to compromise on the word justice, and it was ruled against them that they couldn't use the word justice, on this placard. So certainly to me, it seems like justice is not something that the courts and the legal system want to give us.
It doesn't seem that way, Alan. From what I can see from observing behaviour of the judiciary in Ireland, is that they pretty much do whatever the hell they want. It's like well, you're in my court and I'm the king of this court, and who are you? And basically, law is for me to play around with like it's Play-Doh. you know, and I can decide whether I'm going to accept certain legislation or completely ignore it.
That's the problem. Once you're in court, you're in their court, and I'd listened to a radio interview a couple of weeks ago, and it was a gentleman who was using the trust, or looking at the trust area of law, and he was getting success in the respect that when he was attending court hearings and cases that he was dealing with himself, he understood the fact that the court seemed to be turning the tables on us and making us the trustee rather than being the beneficiary and the executor of the trust. And they seem to have this hearing before the actual court case and establish that fact. But he was actually then, when he was appearing in court for that particular case, was then overruling their sort of backroom hearing and putting himself back as the beneficiary and the executor, and seeming to get remedy in 3 or 4 of his cases that he dealt with. So certainly that's one angle that I'll be researching and looking more at. But even so, I mean, if the nations of Europe, which they're certainly rapidly heading towards, are going to a situation of fascism, then there's going to be no justice in court. They'll just drag people there, process them, and churn them out the other end.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what I see. From what I've been told, the people that I know that live in the UK. In the UK, they normally tend to follow the rules that they have in place to the letter of the law, especially in the higher courts. Maybe not so much in the lower courts, but in Ireland, it's like the Wild West here. They just do whatever the hell they want. It's absolutely shocking. I've seen members of the public being arrested while the court is in session numerous times.
Just explain that. I'm not quite clear what you say. You see people arrested while the court is in session. How do you mean exactly?
Well, I've had a friend of mine that was sitting beside me be approached by a member of An Garda Síochána, which is the police here in Ireland, approached and said, "Can I speak to you outside, please?" And when he refused, he was pulled out of his chair and arrested in the court while the court was convening.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So essentially, they'll, to find somebody and to actually take advantage of, their whereabouts, they'll pull you out of court if you're there in court.
And they're breaking their own rules. They're not supposed to do that. There's actually district court rules, they're called, and you're not supposed to arrest people in the courtroom. You're supposed to wait till they leave. So they're just ignoring all the rules. It's really is. It's quite frightening, to be honest with you, to see it in action. But the way I process that, Alan, is to think that, well, if they're doing that, that means they're panicking because the system is starting to crumble.
Yeah, certainly, and it's the strong arm of fascism now that's in operation, because people are asserting their rights, let's say, asserting themselves, and the more light that's actually shown on this, then, first and foremost, the more they'll panic. But at the same time, if they carry on just completely overriding any rule of law, then, there will be a critical mass of people that actually will be able to take effect and support whoever is in court, because it's much more difficult for them to, override the rule of law, let's say, with the communities actually, watching and seeing this go on, let's say. But I mean, ultimately, I know it's slightly different in the south of Ireland, as in with your constitution. You seem to have a stronger constitution than we do in the UK, as in our constitution is being completely usurped. But we have to, it's a case of getting back to common law now, because there's so much legislation that's completely tying us up from being able to function, in an economic sense and in a sense of for the benefit of the community. Then we have to reassert common law.
Yeah, and it needs to be done on a huge scale as well, Alan, And can I ask you, has there been much of a reaction from the public in the UK to Roger Hayes' arrest and internment?
Yeah, well, it's complete. It's gone global. It's gone sort of viral in the respect of the information across the internet, and I think people are just now waiting to see what the outcome is of the resubmitting of both the habeas corpus back into court, and with it being served at the High Court in London, then hopefully that will bring more light to the case. But as far as the authorities are concerned, if they're sort of, if they see it as a threat in the respect of council tax and people not paying their council tax and actually demanding to know what their taxes are being spent on, i.e. no taxation without representation, then they're not doing much good for their own cause in the respect of this is bringing so much publicity on this whole subject now that it's going to give a lot more people more confidence who are sort of in the middle of council tax cases themselves. I mean, I know dozens. I know a couple of dozen people who are in sort of situations to do with their council tax, from actually who will take a different approach to sort of the council tax. So I can't see how it's benefiting the authority or the judicial system in dealing with it in this way. I really can't see how it's going to benefit them at all, because it's certainly not scaring people off in the respect of what's happened to Roger, and it certainly reasserts the fact of everything that he was fighting for in the respect of the British Constitution Group and getting back to our Constitution, the rule of law, and common law. I mean, any legislation that is brought into existence needs to be an extension of common law. If it's not, then I see it as not really being good for the for the public trust. So I can't as far as updates are concerned, that's as much as I guess the phone going to go tomorrow morning. I suppose people have done the work at the weekend that they've needed to as such, and I guess back to business on Monday morning in the respect of the papers going to where they need to get to. So I'm sure this week there'll be more updates, and there's a Facebook group. It's the Free Roger Hayes Facebook group. There's updates on the UK column. So if you go to www.ukcolumn, I think it's .org or .co.uk, there's been live updates on there that you'll be able to see on their video. There's been press releases. There's been 3 press releases up to now. I think they're going to release. Well, they're going to do another live update tomorrow morning as well. And I think that'll get us up to speed with the whole situation, and onwards and upwards from here. As far as council tax is obviously a huge revenue stream for both the UK and for the Irish government, let's say.
Yeah.
And in Ireland, is it called council tax, or is it?
Well,
do you have a slightly?
We don't have a council tax in Ireland. They're pushing through something called a household charge at the moment. They're trying to tax all properties in the country, and it's actually been very unsuccessful because half the population have decided that they're not going to register for it.
Well, there you go. So a tax that you have to that you're invited to register for. Let's say
contract.
So certainly that's a contractual offer, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, that's they don't even realise it themselves, but they're giving us all the answers. It's just like, hello, wake up, world. They're asking you. It's a self-declaration charge. They're asking you to contract with the state. Come on.
Exactly, and unless we're living in a completely fascist state where it's a case of rule by might and by force, then as far as I'm concerned, everything to do with the government is contractual.
Of course it is. They're a corporation, aren't they?
Exactly, and cases like this and situations like this allow us to become more educated and more experienced to deal with the whole legal system. I mean, it's a minefield in itself. It's completely sewn up anyway. But if we're more confident in dealing with these situations that we're going to face, then it's going to be easier as we go on.
Absolutely. Well, it's been great talking to you, Alan. And can you send me on any information through Skype as well, if you have any updates with what's going on there with Roger Hayes, because we're connected now through Skype, which is a great software package to keep connected with people, you know. And any updates that you give me, I can give the listeners an update then regularly on the show.
I will do. So, and just remind me, you're between 12, is it 12 and...
12 and a half to 3 o'clock, yeah.
12 and 2?
12 and a half to 3, yeah. Between 12.
Right, okay, so you're burning the midnight oil on the Sunday evenings.
Yeah.
And great stuff, excellent. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll chat again. I'm sure we'll chat soon as well. And I'll any as soon as any information comes across to me, I'll buzz it over to you on Skype.
Do.
And
if just to let you know as well that the Awaken Ireland Radio has a Facebook page, simply Awaken Ireland Radio. Also, there's Awaken Ireland Radio at gmail.com. So if you know anyone, Alan, that wants to come on the show over the coming weeks, just ask them, send me an email, and I get in contact.
Okay, and it's Awaken Ireland Radio .com
at gmail.com.
gmail.com. Right, I've got that. That's great. Excellent. Okay, well, nice speaking to you, James, and I'll speak to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling in and giving us that update. It's been invaluable. So
more than welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Good night. So that was Alan Kelly all the way from the UK, and a timely conversation, a timely phone call on Skype, and that's the way to do live radio. Put it out there and get a call and get an update. And amazingly, we have the very funny Aidan Killian, who's just logged on to Skype, and I've asked him to come on to give us a little chat, a little update of what he's up to, what gigs he's playing, and just to basically lighten up the show. So I'm going to play another song. I'm going to bring Aidan in then after that. So here's the Fun Loving Criminals, and this one is Loco.
Hello.
Aidan Killian, the funny man.
How's it going, you beautiful human being?
Why, thank you very much. I'm fine.
What's the crack? What are you up?
I'm just doing a bit of live radio here, having just chats with people to talk about, discuss whatever the hell they want to talk about. So I put it out there. If anyone else wants to ring in and have a chat with the Mr. Aidan Killian, funny man extraordinaire, you're more than welcome to ring in. Ring in Skype, Cloud Warrior 1975, and you can get on the radio with your own comedian.
Yeah, so and we can have... The crack will be mighty. The crack will be mighty.
Absolutely.
Come here, I've been thinking about something recently, James.
Go on, what?
Thinking about different emotions, the different levels of emotions. I mean, if you could categorise them, we started at the bottom, we worked our way up to the top, and up the top there'd be emotions like enlightenment, bliss, love, joy, happiness, so on, right? I'm not putting them in any exact order, but eventually you'll start going down to the more negative emotions.
Yeah.
Like I suppose anger, hatred,
paying taxes,
fear, apathy, right? And I reckon down the bottom would be apathy, because that's where you've kind of given up on life.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, oh, look, whatever happens, and oh, I can't do anything, I'm helpless.
Mm-hmm.
And then above that somewhere would be anger, because when you're angry, at least you're doing something. Like, I mean, Martin Luther King was angry at one stage, but he got up and did stuff, and then became who he was, and so on. So I think what's going on here is, because a lot of people who we use the term wake up, and I'm not sure if that's even fair, but anyway, a lot of people wake up, they go through this dark hole, the rabbit hole, and they often end up being angry.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's the start of awareness, yeah.
start of awareness, and then often from that they decide, well, they don't want to act from a place of anger, you know, and instead they start acting from a place of love. But do you know, they don't do things, they don't do what they're told out of fear, they don't do what they're told out of apathy, because, oh, well, we have to, everybody else is doing it, and if we don't do it, we're going to get in trouble from the police, so I'm scared, I must do it. It's not like that. Yeah. Now people are, you know, acting from a place of love. Well, I will do whatever I'm told to do because I choose to, or I won't because I choose to, because I think it's the right thing to do. Anyway, I'm going somewhere with this, James. I reckon people are being forced to wake up one way or the other. People are going to be woken up, as far as I can see from what's happening in the world. And when they do, it's possible that they might get very, very angry. And that's where the trouble, you know, if a lot of people are angry at once, that might be a problem. So what can we do about that?
What can we do? We need to channel it. We need to channel it in a positive way. You know, that's what we need to do, Aidan. Any suggestions?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a serious possibility. I was thinking about that the other day to my. I was just having a chat with my mum, and that's what came out.
Okay. Well, what about a man shed?
What about a mansion?
A man shed.
What's a man shed?
Have you not heard about the man sheds?
I don't know. I've never heard of a man shed, man. I don't know what that is. It sounds a bit dirty, to be honest with you.
A man shed was a concept that was developed by a few forward-thinking Aussies recently that went viral on the internet, where they just basically turned their garage into a man shed, where they decided to build stuff and invite all their buddies in, crack open a few tinnies, you know. And it became an internet phenomenon shortly afterwards. And there's one in Arklow. As far as Paul, is there a man shed in Arklow?
Yeah, you're shouting at me there. I thought you were saying that to someone else.
I'm shouting over my shoulder as Paul O'Shea. Paul says there's a man shed in Arklow, and it's actually taken off. There's quite a few around the country. And it's just great. Instead of going to the bookies or going to the pub, you can go in and you learn how to weld or to shape wood, or, you know, proper way to pick your nose.
That's a brilliant idea.
Isn't it?
Brilliant idea. Yeah, you're actually doing something productive rather than sitting there. Well, and there's nothing wrong going to the pub chatting to your mates sometimes, you know, you can come up with some inspiring conversations, but it's way better if you're actually doing something. You leave with something of value, you know.
Exactly.
A new skill. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Fair play to the Aussies. About time they came up with something useful.
Yeah. Absolutely. But that's just one way of doing it, you know. That's just one way of shifting the energy into a more positive way, you know, positive way of living, rather than just being apathetic, being angry, being resentful, frustrated, whatever. Let's actually channel it into something productive. And that's just one of many, many ways that you can do it, you know.
That sounds good. Yeah, I don't really, because I used to have a piece that was pretty angry, but I noticed that I can't really do it anymore because I don't really have as much anger. I'm just I'm just more apathetic now, James.
Yeah.
Nah, I just don't really feel as angry anymore. I mean, sometimes over little things maybe, but in general I'm not angry. I think I'm just becoming enlightened. I'm going to be the new Buddha, the
Brilliant.
Jesus Buddha.
Brilliant. I'd love to see you levitate across the floor, actually, and bounce off your arse. Bounce across the floor.
I'll lev across the dial.
Bounce
use it as a toilet.
Across the dial, yeah. Apparently you can do that if you become an expert in TM, which is transcendental meditation. What you can actually do is getting into the lotus position. You can actually bounce on your bum across the floor.
Get out of town.
I'm serious.
Get out of here.
I am
no
serious.
Way.
Yeah, apparently.
What are you talking about? They're obviously sitting on one of those kids' toys with the big balloon.
Oh yeah, one of the bouncy thing. Yeah.
Have you seen that being done now, or did you read this in one of your fairy books?
I've been told by a few different people that you can do this. That you can actually do whatever way that you're so heavily involved in a meditation that you're changing your structure in some way. Your relationship with gravity or something like that, to a degree that you can actually bounce across the room. That apparently there's places there's like halls in the UK where you do an advanced course in transcendental meditation, and it's
something that where you can't do unless you've been doing this meditation for so many years to reach a certain level of enlightenment through meditation, and you can just bounce along all across the floor and bounce back again.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. I'd like to try that, but there might be a lot of work in it. Or is it something that I can learn overnight?
No, it's not something you can learn overnight. Apparently, it's something that you have to develop the skill over a long period of time. Basically, I'd love to be able to learn it.
Well, you can try and change the structure of your body, of your makeup. Well, there's no reason you can't continually change it. So if you can go that far, I mean, you can go all the way to levitating or to disappearing. Why not?
Absolutely. Well, we're all just apparently compressed light. That's all we are, humans on the earth. That's all everything is compressed light. So if you're compressed light, if you know how to manipulate that to a certain degree by consciousness, I'm sure. And some compressed shite from over my shoulder that you can actually why not bounce across the floor? Why not stand on your tippy toes? Why not stand on your to balance on the top of your fingernail? I don't know.
Well, yeah, all right. Well, I'm with it. I'm pretty open about anything, James. So I'm with it. If there's any teachers listening who can teach me how to do that, I'll make a bit of effort to learn it. And 1 year from today, I'll do a comedy gig standing on 2 fingers or 3 fingers, maybe 3 fingers. And make it reasonable. I'll do a full hour set on 3 fingers.
Actually, if any of the listeners here have done this, please ring in Skype on Cloud Warrior 1975. We'd love to hear from you. If you have witnessed this, or if you've done it yourself, bounce on your bum across the floor, please ring in the show. We'd love to get your comments on that, or share your experiences on this particular interesting topic.
A few years back, I was at a capoeira night in Brazil, and I saw a guy slide across the ground on his head, which was just amazing. I don't know how he did it. But maybe something similar. Maybe it's just a great, it's just a skill. If you practice anything long enough, you can get good at it.
Did he use the hands, or did he actually just slide with his head?
Just slid with his head.
Right. Somebody push. It was like the wheelbarrow when we were in school, where someone would grab you by the legs and push you along.
No, like you put like a cloth, and I presume there's some sort of oil on the cloth or something. But so he didn't scalp himself. But basically, the way you can do a headstand or you can do a handstand. You can do a headstand without your hands.
Right.
Right. Well, he basically just fucking took a running move at it and just slid across the ground on his head.
You want to have some neck muscle.
I'm telling you, I know it sounds hard to believe when you're saying it. As I'm saying it now, it sounds a bit impossible, but I saw it and it's real.
Yeah. Have you ever
it's as real as anything I see.
Have you ever tried walking on hot coals?
Yeah, they always talk about that back in the Christian days. Like a few hundred years after Christ, that all these Christians walking on hot coals, and that was one of the ways they were proving that they were that their religion was right, apparently. Which is a bit mad, like, because how do you do that, James? I don't get that. How can some people walk on fire and other people can't?
I actually not sure about that one. Apparently, certain people can walk across hot coals and not get burnt, and I've never actually seen it being done. I think, again, it must be to do with consciousness to a certain degree, that maybe you can protect yourself by believing to a certain degree that you won't get burnt. At the same time, that you can believe yourself that you can walk off a cliff and you won't fucking die. It's, so...
Well, I'm not volunteering to try it. It's quite... The sound's not very good. I'm finding it a bit difficult today to hear you properly.
Okay. Well, is it too low, or what's the crack?
There's lots of little gaps. It feels like we're underwater. Are you underwater, James? Are you swimming right now?
No. But we are using a new sound desk, so...
Well, I'm on my new iPad, sponsored by Visa. Thank you very much.
You're on your new iPad?
So maybe that's it. No, because I was on Skype earlier and it was perfect.
Okay. Is just a Skype call you're talking about, or the actual broadcast?
Well, this call, when I'm hearing your voice, I hear lots of gaps in it.
Yeah, it's not happening on my side. It seems to be coming out okay.
Which is why it's, well, if it's good, it's not happening on your side. It's where I'm sort of half talking to you, because it's there's these little pauses there, holding me back from being my free-flowing self, where I can allow creativity just flow through me as if I'm connecting with the consciousness itself and allowing that to manifest in my heart and allow all those words to come out. You know what I mean, James?
Of course I do, but sure, you know,
of course you do. That's the thing. Funny thing is, you do know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about. I want you to be in full flow.
What's going on? There's loads going on. You guys are doing all sorts of things going around the country. I'm seeing all these emails, but I've been a bit out because I've been focusing on some work that I've been doing lately.
Yeah.
But what's going on? Have you fixed Ireland yet?
Yeah, we're about 2/3 of the way there, so just give us another couple of months and we'll have it all sorted, and we'll all be flying out in our private jets and Learjets to exotic parts of the world to on the new junket system that we're going to create through Awaken Ireland.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. My friend, I was on to a friend in America there, and she was talking about going away for Christmas, right? And then she was like, "Oh no, that means she'll be away for December 21st. So where are you going to be on December 21st, 2012? Or does it make any difference to you?"
Oh, it does make a big difference to me. Yeah, of course it does. It's the end of a great cycle, from what I can see from the research that I've done into it. Where am I going to be? Wherever I will need to be, because I do believe very strongly in synchronicity, and that you are where you're supposed to be at any given moment in time, regardless of whether it's nice or not for you with the experience. But I don't know. I don't know where I'll be. Where will I be? I'd say I'll be in Ireland, all right, but I've got a feeling I'm going to be up in the mountains someplace.
Sure. Interesting. Yes, I thought I was going to be too, but it looks like I might be out of the country, possibly. Who knows? I'll be like yourself. I'll just go whatever's happening. We could be up having a party on top of Killycully Beach or something for the crack.
Yeah, why not? You never know. Come here, tell us about what gigs are you doing at the moment, or were you over in a Glasgow festival?
I was over the Edinburgh Festival in August, and I'm preparing for that. But first, I'm making a DVD next week of my show so far, and I'm trying to put it all together Wednesday and Thursday in the Badass Cafe if anybody wants to come along.
Great.
And it's actually really interesting, because there's a little TV station called Air TV, an online TV station, and they're going to record it live. So it's interesting to get the type of things that I talk about out there, you know. Mm. And there's no going back, because it's live, so shit. If they don't
exactly.
And obviously they haven't done the research, or their producer wouldn't let them put me on, I'd say. Well, maybe not, maybe not, I don't know. But so that's happening, and the DVD's being made. I'm putting a lot of work into that. And at the weekend I was teaching my comedy course. But before that I was in Glasgow, and in Glasgow they really went for the material about the standing up against the banks, the phone stuff. They really went for it, more so than the Irish people.
Okay.
There's more energy and more life off them.
There's no fluoride in the water there, is there? There's no fluoride in the water there, is there?
Well, that's right. Well, there is fluoride in the water. The Gaza Strip.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me.
The Palestinians drink that poison as well. The second most poison substance on earth after arsenic. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
So they have filters. The Israeli soldiers, of course, have filters in the water, so they don't drink the poison. But I have a filter in my water. Do you, James, have a filter?
I have a filter, but I don't think it filters out the fluoride, so I don't tend to drink that water. I drink bottled water instead.
Go on, get one of those. Get an Eva filter. They're pretty good. Eva, it's like separate to your water. Just pour it into it. It's worth it. When's your birthday? I'll buy you one.
I don't think the Eva separates out the fluoride, unfortunately, because it's molecularly binded to the water molecules. So the only way you can take it out is through a reverse osmosis filter. Sorry to burst your bubble there.
I'm under the impression that the Eva filter system does.
No, doesn't.
Well, they told me it does.
Eva, the ones you buy in the shop?
Yeah, it's like the big Eva one now, not the little small one. The big, like the €100 one.
All right, I haven't looked at that model. But does it say it on the box, or what's the crack with it?
I rang them up. I think it's said it on, but I rang them up to confirm, and I sent them an email on it, and they said it does.
Okay.
But then again, removing fluoride, I mean, it doesn't say what percentage of fluoride it removes, does it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I've got 2 filters, so I've doubled up. So screws off.
Okay, fair enough.
But I have a specific filter one of my times as well. So that's that. What's going on? You just stay on just chatting to whoever all night?
Well, and just what I've done over the last couple of weeks is that I've decided to just be a little bit more casual with the show and play out a few pre-records if I have any pre-records for the week. I've been so busy travelling around the country in the last couple of weeks that I've been away for most of the week, so I haven't had many pre-records done. So what I've done is just ask people to randomly ring in.
Well, you have been doing a lot of work in fairness to you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I noticed that sometimes, because a comment I made back in Awaken Ireland meeting down in County Clare and Bog Hill, I remember once we were having a conversation. It was about what your friends think of you. Some people said, "Oh, my friend thinks that." Some of my friends think I'm weird. And, I've lost some of my friends, and through the times I've lost some of my friends too, or certainly I'm not as close to them, and that's okay. But I happen tomorrow to be a meeting with one of my friends. He's telling me why we're not friends anymore, and I'm dying to find out. Have I done something, or is it because I talk about stuff like fluoride? I genuinely don't know. So it's kind of interesting.
Brilliant.
Does that happen in your world now, James, or is that just me?
Well, see, I spent about 3 years not talking to most of my old friends for those exact reasons, because I was talking about stuff they weren't interested in, and there's a massive divide was created between me and them, and they were getting quite angry if I brought any of the subjects up, because I can't help myself if I know they're talking nonsense or they haven't researched something and they're just spouting what they've heard in the media, and if I say, hold on a second now, I don't believe that you're correct completely with that, and you should look at it from this point of view, I was getting a lot of negative reactions to that sort of stuff, Aidan. So I just stopped talking about it, actually stopped going out for quite a long time. I was living by myself, and I just did a lot of research on the internet for many years, and it was me and the dog for quite a while. Oh, poor me. But, it had to be done, and because I did that, I managed to get a fairly good understanding of what's going on in many different areas around the globe. It took me a while.
Well, that's sort of similar, not quite the same. It just took me a lot less time, to get up to scratch.
yeah, get out of it. But I found the happy medium, the happy balance now, where a lot of the stuff I've said has already come true, right? Especially in relation to new taxes being forced on people. That I did predict that. And about the money system collapsing, that they're seeing that now as well. And what's happening now is that people are actually coming to ask me about what's going to happen next, sort of thing. I'm not saying I'm a fucking prophet, but it's just a matter of adding 1 and 1 and getting 2 instead of adding 1 and 1 and getting 3, which is what other people are doing. And so they actually do kind of respect my opinion to a degree. I would still take the piss out of me, of course, which I enjoy. But it's just, it's a different relationship now than what it was. They're still very wary of me with a lot of stuff, and they won't talk about a lot of stuff in my company, especially politics. But in general, they're more relaxed now than they have been in many years now, to be honest with you. So it's a process you go through, really, with people.
Yeah. No, that's kind of similar for me. I just sort of became intolerant to have nonsense conversations, and I still am. I'm just not able for them, actually. It's like it's not in my makeup to talk. It's about stuff that's not important. Like if you tell me, what Dave Beckham was wearing, or, something like that, and you want to have that conversation, I'm not actually capable of having it. So but the funny thing is, it's the exact same if I start talking about, I don't know, fucking chemtrails or the banking, how the elitist mass, are taking money, trying to remove the wealth from the masses and put it in the hands of the few. If I start talking about things like that, people are going to turn off. So I just allow them to have their conversation, and I like to be allowed to have mine. But funnily enough, they don't really often allow you to have your conversations. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah, it depends on the company that I'm in.
Some people, I'm more of a listener than a talker when I socialise, to be honest with you. You know, so it's pretty much just sit there and listen and ask people questions about what's going on in their lives, and just tell some very kind of simple stories with people. I don't really tend to go into heavy stuff in the pub at all, but that's partly because I've been in a certain routine with a lot of lads for many years now, and a lot of it's just got piss taken really, and just having a crack and listening to some music, or maybe having a game of pool or something like that. And we normally only get into kind of more serious conversations when we move downtown to a different pub and you find yourself in a different environment, you know. So it all depends, but in general I just tend to I actually when I go to the pub, it's purely to actually zone out of all of the heavier stuff that I'm involved with, because I have to, because it's just it can be a bit much at times, and I need to come back down to earth, really, you know.
I'm doing a tour with A.B. Philip and Bowman called Stand Up Against the Bankers, and I have the privilege of travelling around this beautiful country, going from town to town and meeting people. And I hear some great stories about sovereign people who don't even know they're sovereign. They don't even know what sovereign means, but I hear the stories about how they handle the banks, and it's very interesting. Different. Some people are, just coming up to me and saying, well done, fair play to you, you're doing something about it. And they're not really doing anything at all, but they're encouraging. Then you have, I met this fella, and he was telling me the bank were hassling for ages. Every day they're hassling, and he didn't have the money. It was that simple. When the recession kicked in, he lost 90% of his business, because he would have paid them if he had it, but he just didn't have it. And they ring him up, and they were quite threatening to him. And he said, well, what are you going to do? If I don't have it, I don't have it. And he goes, well, we'll have to take the properties unless you come down and make a lodgement now. Mm-hmm. So he goes down to the bank, and he lodges in 1 cent. He takes out 1 cent, and he goes, lodge that. And the woman, the cashier, says, we can't lodge that. It would cost us money to do so. It would cost you money. Well, if I knew it was going to cost you money, I would have brought a bag of them, and I would have spent the whole day lodging in 1 cent. Now, if you're not going to lodge that in, I want a signed letter saying that you're refusing my my lodgement. And he didn't even know what he was doing, but if you think about it, offer and acceptance, he's actually he's been smarter than maybe he even realized he's been. Yeah. So that was one story, and then another story I heard. Oh, you like this one? You like this one, James?
Go on.
Oh, fucking this is the same fella. Actually, this is the same fella. But they ring him up and they said they ring him up and they're threatening him and so on, and he says, that they're going to have to take the house or whatever, and he goes, right, fair enough, you can come around to the house if you like, but just so you know, this house is my castle, and under Brehon law, I have the right to protect my castle with sword and spear, and I have every intention of doing so. So I advise you to let whoever's coming to my house to know that I have every intention of defending it as per my rights under Brehon law, which stands in my castle.
Brilliant.
Now, doesn't get a call for 6 weeks. 6 weeks later, a fella rings him up and says, hello, is there any possibility we could discuss the mortgage here? And he goes, yeah, sure, no problem. Can we discuss it somewhere? And he goes, yeah, come around to the house. And the fella goes, well, can we go somewhere else? I'd prefer not to go to the house. No, come on over to the house. It's all right, I'm inviting you. So the doorbell rings, and he opens the door, and he sees that the banker fella's in his car. He ran the door and got back into his car. And he walks over to him and says, what's going on? You're not coming into the house? And he goes, well, look, I'll be honest with you. I've heard that you have a sword in there, and you intend to use it. And he goes, well, I only use that if someone's, coming on, and threatening me. But if you're coming as an invitation, if you're coming in peace, well, then obviously it won't be used. So I'm inviting you in now for a cup of tea. Invites him in, has a cup of tea. They come to an agreement. They agree on half the mortgage. He's going to pay half, and he loses credit rating. But obviously he's a man of sense, as you can hear. Mm-hmm. So he didn't give a fuck about the credit rating. Sorry, I know I'm not meant to curse. Sorry.
No, you can't. You're okay. It's late night. Don't worry about it.
And the fella, so he agrees on half, and I said to him, and the fella leaves, and that's that. I said to the man, tell me a story. He goes, and how did you know about Brehon law? He says, I didn't, but sure neither do they. Well, brilliant, isn't it? I couldn't believe it.
That's it, yeah.
But I hear loads of stuff. I hear loads of people telling me their stories.
Hey, come here. You're going to love this one, right? There's a guy in Cork called Gerard Banks, right, that went into the bank in Cork, right? And first of all, he said, are you aware that this money is not legal tender, as it doesn't have any legal tender written on it? And the guy in the bank said, what? He said, yeah, have a look at this note. There's no legal tender written on it. Right, okay. Also, there's no copyright on this. If I wanted to, I can get a colour photocopier, and I can copy this, and I can cut it up, and I can use it as, currency, because there's no copyright. So, all right, okay. Well, you need to go and talk to the financial regulator about that. She said, okay, I will so. So off he went, and he talked to the financial regulator, and walked in and sat down and said, hello, financial regulator. Do you realise, again, that this money is not legal tender? He looked at it and went, yeah, actually, you're right. Also, there's no copyright. I can copy this if I want to, but technically, you can. Right? That's not all when you hear this, right? He also went into the bank and he asked the bank for their licence. And what he said to him was, I'd like to pay money off my loan, but I don't think that you actually have a licence to do business here. And it'd be similar to me going into an off licence and buying alcohol, knowing that the off licence didn't have a licence to sell. Wouldn't I be complicit as well as you in breaking the law? So can you show me your licence, please? And the woman behind the counter said, well, look at that wall over there. Don't we have loads of certificates there? I said, yeah, but you've got loads of certificates, but you've no licence. So she went off and she had a chat with the manager, and the manager came out and said, well, we don't have a licence here today to show you. She said, well, I can't pay any of my loan off unless you have a licence. So can you please show me your licence? So he said, we don't have it here today, but if you come back another day, we'll show you the licence. So he went off and he came back in the next 2 weeks later, and he went to check his account again, and the loan was cleared. Yeah.
How come the bank is no licence?
I don't know.
None of them do.
They don't have licence. Wait till you get this. The courts don't have any licence either. He did the same thing, and he went in and talked to the courts. And he went in with a fixed penalty notice, and he approached the clerk behind the counter, and he said, I'm here to see, I'd like to pay for this fixed penalty notice, but before I do, can you please show me your licence? And they went through the same rigmarole with the girl behind the counter, and she went off and talked to a superior, probably the senior clerk, and came back and said that the licence is not here today, but if you come back another day, that we'll be able to show it to you. We can't find it right now. But that's funny, because you should have it there for everyone to see. And he went through the whole thing again. And as he was walking down the hallway, right, to head off, after asking for the licence, you could see all the barristers were all whispering and pointing at him as he's walking down the fucking hallway. And it's the woman that said to him, no one's ever asked for a licence before.
That's mental.
I know. I thought you'd like that one.
A licence to be acquired. It seems like and what's happening? Is that the end of it? Like, what's happening now? That's just nuts.
Well, I mean, I've been trying to get the guy in the show, but he seems to be impossible to locate. Anytime I send him a text, I might get a reply 3 days later. Or I never see him on Skype, and hasn't replied to my Facebook. So maybe one day we might have him on the show, and he might be able to go into more detail about exactly what he's doing. But he is doing some very interesting stuff. Like, he wants to deposit socks to his account. It's apparently
money, because it's money. Yeah, why not? Yeah, and does he walk in with them? Hilarious.
Yeah.
Come here. I fired AIB the other day.
Right.
Sent him a letter. Now I haven't got a letter back. Well, I might have. I didn't check my postal address yet, where the post goes. Obviously, it doesn't go where I live. I have no interest in getting things going to the house that I live in. Thanks very much. So I go to my postal address. So, but I haven't got any response yet, but it's the weekend, so probably tomorrow. But I'm also firing at Ulster Bank, because when I fired AIB, I moved to Ulster. But due to their gross incompetence, I'm going to send them a letter, take out the very little cash that's in there, and then I'm going to fire them. But I'm going to do a little video up on YouTube. So I'll send you that when I have it.
Do definitely.
Maybe you can help me with it. I was thinking of keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Just send them a letter. Ulster Bank, you know, your bank and your industry as a whole is working against the good of mankind. You are fired for the above reason and due to your overall gross incompetence, you're fired. Please find below link. And then on the below link, it's just a YouTube video of me. So what do I say here?
Okay, well,
Mr. Bank, you disgust me.
Well, I'd say to you, why don't you come at it from the correct legal position? Apparently, that you're a low-level employee of the bank. So why don't you write to the bank and say that I'm retiring as an employee of your bank for the
Yeah, because I don't know that's actually true. I've heard that, but how do I know that's true? Because I looked for that information before and I couldn't find it.
If you can find that man, fair play to you. I mean, you probably never find it, but apparently this is what I've been told by certain people that seem to know. That's what you are. And same with the state. You're a low-level employee of the state as well, and that's as long as you are not acting as a sovereign man or woman, that you will be treated as such. And the only way you can reverse the roles is if you reply back in relation to sovereignty.
The way, look, I see all that, right? But I can't accept it as true just because I've heard it, right?
Sure, I agree with you.
But saying, let's say it is true, even if I am an employee of the bank, right? As that's their terms and conditions, right?
Yeah.
Or a low-level employee of the state. The state works for me, right? Because I'm the people. So the state's still under me. So even if they classify me as an employee, it doesn't change the fact that they still work for me. And the banks are just a dead entity. So I can't work for a dead entity. That's nonsense. So I'm firing them. And if they think otherwise, they can, on behalf of me and all of mankind, they can go fuck themselves. So that's my stance on the subject, James.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not very articulate, I suppose.
Hey, did you get a response from the last letter that you sent in?
I haven't got it yet because I didn't send it. I only sent it there last week, to be honest with you, because I was off in Glasgow and it's just up to my eyes. And but yeah, I don't know. And it's funny, you get a little bit of I was hesitating a bit, will I do this or will I not? And
I'm going to read this out. You're going to enjoy this. Former Taoiseach Brian Cowan has gone back to school, enrolling on a $58,000 6-week course at Stanford University in California. Mr. Cowan is a student in the Executive Education Program, which includes a range of courses and features prestigious speakers such as Condoleezza Rice, the Irish Mail. And the courses of study is customized to the needs of senior executives working in global companies, government agencies and non-profit organizations, according to its website. American presidents, famous actors and even disgraced golfer Tiger Woods have studied at Stanford University. What do you think of that?
Who's that, Brian Cowan?
Yeah.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah.
He's going to college?
Yeah. Apparently. But just because you read it doesn't mean you have to believe it.
Jesus, good for him.
Good man.
Well, he's probably right to get out of here. It must be awful for him to walk the street, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to walk down the street here and people are spitting on him and stuff.
Yeah. Mr. Cowan, 52, refused to comment when he was approached while leaving morning lectures on Friday. He said, "I'm not doing any interviews. I'm here on a private matter." The qualified solicitor refused to divulge any details of a future career, and when asked to pay the substantial fees for his let's finish there. Just broken message there. Anyway, you get the gist of it.
And well, good old Brian Cowan anyway. Fair play to him.
Fair play to him, yeah.
It's a shame he couldn't have gone and done a bit of study beforehand, huh? We could have got him reading TNS or listening to TNS radio every night for an hour or two. She should make a good T-shirt then. Right,
come here. Anyway, I'm going to leave you go, and it's actually Vinny asked me to play out something. Actually, before you go, I'm going to play this out, and you can comment on it's only a 3.5 minute long video. It's called The Most Honest 3.5 Minutes of Television Ever. And it's the beginning scene of the new HBO series, The Newsroom, explaining why America's not the greatest country any longer, but it can be. Do you want to stay online and hear this?
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Bring it on.
Okay.
Why America is the greatest country in the world?
Diversity and opportunity.
Lewis? Freedom and freedom. So let's keep it that way.
Well, why is America
not the greatest country in the world, Professor? That's my answer.
You're saying...
Yes.
Let's talk about, fine. Sharon, the NEA is a loser. Yeah, it accounts for a penny out of our paycheck, but he gets to hit you with it anytime he wants. It doesn't cost money. It costs votes. It costs airtime and column inches. You know why people don't like liberals? Because they lose. If liberals are so fucking smart, how come they lose so goddamn always? Hey, and with a straight face, you're going to tell students that America is so star-spangled awesome that we're the only ones in the world who have freedom? Canada has freedom. Japan has freedom. The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180 of them have freedom. All right. And yet you, sorority girl, just in case you accidentally wander into a voting booth one day, there's some things you should know. And one of them is, there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality, 3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. Now, none of this is the fault of a 20-year-old college student, but you nonetheless are, without a doubt, a member of the worst generation ever. So when you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yosemite?
That's fucking brilliant. What's that? I gotta watch it.
Sure used to be.
I'll give you the link.
We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars, acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easy. We were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed by great men who were revered. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one. America is not the greatest country in the world anymore. Enough?
Well, what do you think of that, man?
Yeah, it's kind of sad and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
And powerful. Well, yeah, send me that link. Well, what's it? Is this a series on American TV?
Yeah, it's HBO new TV series. That was at the start of the new series. The Newsroom, it's called.
I'm amazed that's on TV in America. That's really good. That gives me hope.
Yeah, yeah. HBO has some brilliant programs. I've watched some really good TV series on HBO over the years. The Wire being another fantastic one. Have you seen The Wire?
I never watched The Wire. I heard a lot of people talking about it. Never watched it at all.
The Wire is mind-blowing TV. The writer of the show used to be a cop in Baltimore City, yeah, and he also then worked in the newsroom for the Baltimore Sun. So he saw every single side of the coin, as well as how the gang culture grew in Baltimore City, which is predominantly black. And the way he did that particular show was he painted both sides of each story. So he didn't stereotype the blacks as being rapists and killers and drug dealers. Yeah, he actually showed the reasons for the social breakdown of the order, and the way that the authorities herded everybody into these projects. Yeah. He also showed then both sides of the cops. He showed the corruption as well as the great detective work that was done, and the efforts to try and connect with the communities on the lowest level to try and break down this divide between the cops and the gangs. And he also showed in the corruption within the political system with the mayor's office, and he showed the corruption within the newspapers, what they weren't reporting and stuff, or the way they were being biased towards certain stories. And the acting is absolutely phenomenal in it. So I highly recommend anyone watch The Wire if they do. And that new series, The Newsroom, I might check that out too.
Yeah, okay, I might check. But once I start, I'll get addicted to it like everybody else. So
yeah, you actually start talking like the gangs after a while. Everything is yo at the end of a sentence. So yo. Yeah,
what's up?
You got yo. Yeah, Aidan, you got another gig next week, yo.
Yo. So I'm doing gigs next week. So right, well, come on. I'm pretty much useless because I'm half asleep here.
Yeah,
James, I'm lying down in bed, so I don't know if I've been much of an addition, but it was still nice to hear your voice anyway.
No, it's great, man.
So,
we need a bit of an lift in the show. The show can be quite serious at times, so we do need to inject a bit of humour in it as well. You know, it's very important.
I didn't do anything.
Ah, you did, bud. Ah, you did.
You got me on my serious hat on today. But go on, I'll give you a shout soon. I'm sure loads will be happening. The world's always evolving as it should, and lots of stuff is happening all the time. So I'm sure we can chat soon about whatever's going on next week.
Absolutely.
Or the week after.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to finish this show on a high, and I was going to play out the Thomas Sheridan interview, and that has been played out before on show 2, but I'm not going to bother now.
Give Paul a hug there. That'll be a nice hug.
I'll give Paul a hug in a minute, yeah, no problem. But I was going to finish out, was going to play out the Thomas Sheridan but interview, but amazingly I've had nothing but phone calls since I said that, so I never even got an opportunity to play it out. So we'll play it another time. There's no problem. It'll be repeated again another time because it's a great interview. I want to play it again. But Aidan, thanks very much again for calling in to the show, and I shall put that on to you during the week at some stage, I'm sure.
Alright, take it easy, brother James. Bye bye.
Take it easy, bye bye. And that was Aidan Killian, funny man extraordinaire, and he's half asleep there. As you could tell, he's just a dynamo. He travels all over the place. He's constantly on the go, going to different festivals, and the Edinburgh Festival there recently, and he's apparently going to be doing a gig with Max Kaiser. Well, Max Kaiser's coming over for 3 shows in Galway, Dublin and Cork, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But he is going to be the warm-up act for Max Kaiser, which is great because they get on very well, from what I've been told. So, like I said, I was going to play out the Thomas Sheridan interview, the conversation about psychopaths and his books in relation to psychopaths, Defeated Demons, and other books that he's written. But I'm not going to play it out now because we've had a great show, very varied, with great listeners and callers. So we'll be back again next Sunday, and we'll have a pre-recorded interview more than likely for you. Don't know what it's going to be yet, which is always a surprise every week for me. I don't know from one end of the week to the next who's going to be on the show, which is the right way to do it. I think it keeps it interesting. So I bid you adieu, and we're going to play out one more track. And again, if you'd like to contact the show, if you want to come on and have a chat, you can send me a mail at awakenirelandradio@gmail.com. There's also the Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Awaken Ireland Radio, and you can send us a message through the page as well. And please share the page with many people, because we have all of the podcasts from the previous shows on the Facebook page. And also the Awaken Ireland website is being built at the moment and will be live very shortly. Is www.awakenireland.ie, and there's great initiatives happening all over the country with an idea for a huge fundraising gig in the O2 in Dublin. I don't have any details about it yet, but we're hoping to get the likes of Liam O'Mainley and Christy Moore and many other very well-known artists are going to play at this gig, and it's been organised as we speak. And when I have more information, I will let you know. But I'm going to finish the night on a song from the Gorillaz. This one is called Clint Eastwood. So good night and sleep well.